Was Jesus really a carpenter? Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion, and this traditional idea comes to English speakers primarily through the King James Version's rendering of two passages from the New Testament, Mark 6:3 and Matthew 13:55. And these are both telling more or less the same story, but the passage in Mark is earlier. And the context is, it's the Sabbath, Jesus is teaching in the synagogue, people are amazed and wondering, where did he get all this stuff? And so in Mark 6:3, they say, is this not hotekton, the son of Mary? And hotekton is a Greek word that comes from a verbal root, tikto, which means to create or to build. And so it seems to have something to do with being a craftsperson of some kind. And then in Matthew 13:55, again, we have much the same story, but rather than saying, is this not the tekton? They say, is this not the son of the tekton? Is this not the son of Mary? Are these not his brothers and sisters? And so Matthew seems to have changed it a little bit. So Jesus is the son of the tekton. But in that time and place, one usually followed in the footsteps of their father professionally. And so if Jesus' dad was a tekton, then more than likely he would have been a tekton as well. So if this tradition that we first find in Mark 6 and then in Matthew 13 is accurate, then it seems likely that Jesus was a tekton. So the question becomes, what is a tekton? So the King James Version says carpenter, and that is certainly a valid interpretation in isolation of tekton. But in first century CE Galilee, and particularly Nazareth, there was not a ton of wood available, and there was not a ton of building going on with wood. Stone was far more common, and particularly over the hill in Sepphoris, which was a bustling Greco-Roman city that had a lot of building projects going on around the time that Jesus was born. And so this is why some scholars suggest maybe stonemason would be more accurate. Not because tekton must refer to stonemasonry and not to carpentry, but because in light of what was available, what was popular, what was going on in that time period, it seems unlikely that someone could have made a living just working in wood as a carpenter. They probably were far more commonly working with stone. And while that is true, Jesus was from Nazareth, which was a tiny little hamlet, probably not even a village, and there was not a lot going on. And you probably could not say, well, sorry, I don't work in wood, or I don't work in stone, I only work in the other thing, and get work. You probably needed to be more of a generalist. You probably needed to be able to work in whatever the client demanded, which meant you were working in wood, you were working in stone, you were working in mud brick, you were working in whatever was available, whatever was desired by the client. And there's an additional sociocultural dimension as well. In Mark 6, in Matthew 13, I get the sense that there is some sneering going on. This is just a handyman. How could he have this education? How could he have this authority? How could he know all of these things? So I think there's also a pejorative nuance to this. And so I think something like craftsman or maybe even handyman is a more appropriate rendering of what's going on here. So was Jesus a carpenter? Probably not. It's certainly possible, but more than likely Jesus worked predominantly in other materials. That's not to say he was a stonemason and therefore did not ever work in wood, but he probably worked in whatever was available to be able to build or maybe repair whatever needed to be built or to be repaired. And in light of what seems to me to be a kind of a pejorative dimension, I would suggest something like handyman is a more accurate analog for today to what may have been going on in that text. But that is just my opinion. And the fit for this video has been Noah's Re'em.